Hello, everybody. Hi, Mr.
Evening.
Pineapples.
Hello, Sandy. Hello,
How's
everyone.
how's it going?
It's going okay, actually.
Well,
Uh,
good.
I was having my night of, what do we call it? I guess streaming.
Uh-huh.
So Thursday nights are where it's usually heavily where I get to watch people stream. So I started the evening off watching Weed At Show, which
Yes.
has hosts Jameed Billingsley and Ricardo Williams. I don't really follow. Let me put it this way: the sports that I follow, if it's not the Dallas Cowboys or Texas Tech, I don't really follow too much, to be honest with
And I don't know other things existed
you.
beyond that.
Yeah, but I'm trying to broaden my palette a little bit, and
Oh,
so I want to
yeah.
support some friends. And the guys know what look. I mean, they look like they know what they're talking about.
They
I'm
are
not.
so knowledgeable. They throw
I
out. I
feel
was in
like
there.
they are.
I was in there for a few minutes, and I'm just like, this is beyond me yelling. No, ref, it's not a good call.
Right, right. That's what I feel like too. And they had a really interesting guest on tonight too, who owns it or does his own podcast. And I was more interested in him as himself rather than what he knew per se, because
Uh-huh.
he wants to be a sports podcast or not a sports
Broadcaster,
journal. Yeah,
journalist.
broadcaster
Okay.
and journalist, and so he's writing blogs and things like that. And I was like, man, that's pretty interesting stuff. Actually, I want to know what
What
drove you
all
to
it
do
tells.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how did he get there? It basically suds it up, right? I guess
Yeah. Oh,
that's
for sure.
probably so.
Do the
I was
sud
like,
spin on it.
yeah, and so anyway, ended that. It was good, and then I rolled right into flows for you. And all this was because I didn't have to get on the road tonight and take my kid to one of her lessons. So I was like, oh, I'll get to watch some of the shows live. So I saw Flows for You, and I just hopped off there. And the guest that they had, it was on Dungeons and Dragons,
I
the
Yeah, I was
board
gonna say I
game.
watched Dungeons and Dragons for a little
Yeah.
bit.
So I don't play that. I'm not into it per se. It interests me, but I've just never really delved
It was
into
a
it.
cartoon, right?
Well, it was a
Was it a
cartoon
cartoon?
based off of a board game.
Okay.
So, and that's what and board game doesn't really encapsulate it. I don't know what I'm sure they're rolling right now hearing me say board game or whatever, but that's not what it is. But either way, I enjoyed them like as a couple. They were really they flowed well together on there. So I was like really
They
enjoying them.
had they had a super cool little motto. Share
Oh,
what you care and care about what
care
you
what you
share or
share.
something
Yeah, yeah,
like that. That was pretty cool. So that's why
yeah.
so she said that she shared a passion for theater, and then he shared his passion for football, and they've both taken a liking to each other's passions. Hey, Echo, how are you doing? Thank you for hopping in here.
Yeah, and I
Hey,
like that.
Sean, thank you
What's
for
up,
hopping
Sean?
in here.
I like that they had that. You're right. That was a really uh, whatever you want to say, like mantra, motto, whatever it was that they follow
Yeah.
it by. And I was like, oh, that was really nice. And I love that because my wife, Dr. Pineapples, and that's what she did. I don't know that she picked anything up from me. I'm just gonna
She's
put
like,
that
thank
there
you for
first,
that
okay?
suggestion. And if
But
you
I
guys
will
have
say,
something that you want to share with me that you care about, I'll just read it. I mean, I'm not going to pick up might not pick it up.
yeah. So I did the same with Dr. Pineapples though. I knew she was big into the news, politics, and things like that. And so when I wasn't into that stuff, I started listening to NPR and just keeping abreast of what was going on in the news around the world. And it became a thing that she and I could share. But now it's more where I genuinely enjoy it and appreciate it. So
And speaking of things going on right now in the world, I mean, guys, we need to definitely pray for everything that's going on in Leveland right now. I'm not sure if that standoff has ended, but it is intense right now. I think we've lost two officers,
mm,
and my gosh, our prayers go out to those families tonight, and for that standoff to come to an end. That is just senseless tragedies all the way around. Um, but I didn't want to leave you guys without a case today, so I wanted to do I don't have a lot of content for this particular case, but I
can I
wanted to
share
bring.
something then before
Yes,
you?
yes, please do,
Okay,
please do.
it has nothing to do with that. But let's say the new term for the day. We'll put it that way. Okay. There's a new term that I learned, and I was talking to a friend about it earlier, and he was messing around saying there's this cute girl somewhere. Da da da. He was like, "Oh, so you'd leave Dr. Pineapples for her?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "No, I'm sapiosexual, right? So the other girl doesn't interest me whatsoever." And he was like, What'd you say?
Sapiosexual.
I said sapiosexual. And he said, okay, what does that mean? I don't
I'm
understand that.
assuming mate for life.
No, it does not mean that. But I'll read you the definition so you guys can
Hey,
get it, okay?
TC, thank you for
Hey,
coming
to
in
see.
here.
All right, so sapiosexual. It means finding intelligence sexually attractive or arousing. And
Oh,
so, since my wife is a doctor, I was like, I told him, I was like, yeah, she's not anywhere close to that. So I'm sorry, it's not really anything there. I
you're
was,
like, she's dumb, and so I want nothing to do with her. That's awesome. You're like,
so,
no offense. And
you
so I'm
know, you
fixing
put
to
it so
offense in you.
eloquently, Sandy.
She's so dumb. That's so
So
funny.
anyway, I thought it was an interesting word that you all would like to hear. Sapiosexual. It means that
Because
someone.
I'm all about teaching y'all things here.
Yes, you
And
are, Sandy.
today it's Mr. Pineapple's turn to teach y'all something.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Look
So
at
tell
Sean.
us. What?
He said, no,
No,
thank you.
wait. He's saying
No, thank
no.
you to dumb people.
Okay, okay. That's what I was
I'm
trying
sure.
to say. Yeah, that has to
I'm
be
sure
it.
that's what he meant. So anyway, um, thank you for coming on here tonight because I was just gonna ramble solo, which I don't know how that was gonna go. CPJ, thank you for coming in here. I was gonna ramble solo, but you saved the day, and I appreciate that very much. So
Some tells me it wouldn't have been difficult for you though.
I know, right? I was just
Yeah.
gonna just keep on going. um, okay, so I want to share with you guys some things I've discovered this week. And so, first things first,
Okay.
there has been a charge that just came July the 12th. And this lady has never been on my radar, never heard about her, but
Okay.
it crossed my, I would like my when you click on a tab and it opens up your news. So all of my stuff is like either like love triangles, murder, advice columns.
I would kind of say like your
My
Sandy
landing
radar.
page. Yes, my home landing page. This is at my office, okay? So when I click on it, it just has all these news. So I saw a case where Pam Hupp had been charged with murdering her best friend. And
Why you gotta do that? Why you gotta
my
do that?
curiosity is piqued. So, Pam Hupp had been arrested for murdering a gentleman with mental handicaps. And so, she'd been in jail for that murder.
Okay.
Anyway, so turns out that there's a podcast called A Thing About Pam, the Ramblin' Sam. Yeah, that's a good one. I should write that one down. So there's a podcast called A Thing About Pam, and I promise you guys, if y'all listen to it, y'all are going to be so upset. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis, and I'll probably spoil it in the process, but okay. This was in 2011. Pam Hupp. I get it confused. It's Hupp, Hupp, was the last one to see her best friend alive.
Okay.
And automatically, the husband is a suspect. And he actually ends up going to prison for life for this murder. And the investigation, the judge, the prosecuting attorney, all of these things that they pulled will just blow your mind.
Okay.
And anyway, good news, the husband was retried, found innocent, and no one had ever really served time for justice had not been served for Betsy, who'd been murdered. So anyway, this podcast is all about Pam Hupp, but her recent charge, she's been charged with the murder of her friend Betsy. So
Oh.
you guys need to listen to that. I want you guys to listen to it and let me know what you think about it. You can find it wherever you do find podcasts. I'm on iPod or Apple, whatever. And so that's where I've been listening to it. It is a 5-part series that I'm listening to, but there also is like a one series, and I'm not sure, but it is on ABC. But anyway, it's called The Thing About Pam. And I suggest you watch that one. Okay.
Okay.
And I need to put that in the comments real quick. that
And while
way.
you do that, I'm actually going to pull
Okay.
up this. Excuse me.
Thing
My
about
wife had actually told
Pam.
me about a series, and I was going to ask you if you had seen this,
Okay.
Sandy.
Okay.
Um, but it was so funny because I told you how you and my wife are like when y'all like those true crime, the true story stuff.
Yes.
Like she'll sit in front and watch how the gangs in the prison works and the
Huh.
series, and she's just in it and how they attack each other, but also how the hierarchy works and all that stuff. And I'm just like, that's a bit much. So, but she did ask me for this show, and I'm not gonna find it as fast as I thought I was gonna find it. So when I
Okay.
find it, though, I'll bring it up later. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
So, my next thing that I found, is one that was on, TikTok. Hey, Julia, thank you for hopping in here. And so this one is pretty funny because I'm doing my usual TikTok scrolling and I come across this guy and he's just got like scrolling stuff on it. He doesn't have anything really that he's talking about, but it's just saying like weight loss, hair loss, and it had like a website stamped on it. So I'm like, oh, this guy's selling some sort of pill, some pyramid scheme.
So yeah,
So
some snake oil.
yeah, so I just went ahead and skipped it. Whatever, I didn't pay attention to it. And so, anyway, later on, we go to bed, and Eric is on TikTok, and he's like, "Did you see this?" And it happens to be the same TikTok that I bypassed. I'm like, "Yeah," I said, "What's that fool selling?" Anyway, he's like, "You need to watch it." And I'm like, "What? What do I need to watch it for?" So this guy, and I can't remember his name, but I have the title. So what happens is he's selling a book. And his book is about how his wife and his mother in law plotted to kill him. And the reason he'd been losing weight and hair and
Ah,
everything else was because they were poisoning him with arsenic. So,
there's
the
a
name of the
popular play
book.
that says, "Some men can't hold their arsenic."
Oh, really? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
So, I have purchased the book, but I am currently trying to finish my continuing education because that comes up on the 31st of July. So I
It kind
told
of takes
myself,
precedence, right?
yes. So I told myself, okay, self, pass your courses and then you can read this book. So I've not read it, but the name of the book is called The Third Gift. And it is available on Kindle for a lot cheaper than getting the hardback. But if you want to get the hardback, I know how much people love books. It's called The Third Gift, and his catchy line
Does it say "My
on the
dance with the
book,
devil"?
"My Dance with the Devil and Her Mother." Dude. I'm telling you, like, I am so excited. I can't wait to read this. And I could not tell Eric enough. Thank you for stopping me on that one.
So I put the art or the link to the Amazon book in the comments if y'all want to go check that out.
Yes, y'all go check it out. And then if y'all want to do a show with either Pam, the thing about Pam, or the third gift, we can get on schedule for that. Dustin freaking Lowles Davis, how's it going? And so, okay.
Here's the show that my wife was talking about.
Oh, did you find it? Okay, cool.
Yep, it's called "Confronting a Serial Killer," and the astonishing story of an unprecedented relationship between acclaimed author and journalist Gillian Lauren and the most prolific serial killer in American history, Sam Littell or Sam Little.
Sam Little. Yes, and he
Okay,
actually had a brush in Lubbock and um I believe in Midland. Yes.
really
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so
And
she
his
wanted me to watch this, and or she wanted me to see if I can find where this is at, and I just found it, so it's on Hulu.
okay, so his I want to say he had like 300, Jamie. I mean, it's a big number. It is a big number. But I
Three
do
hundred
believe uh
people that he killed.
yes, I do
Oh my
believe
gosh!
that if I'm thinking if it's the right man, I believe he had a connection here in Lubbock and in Midland. But yeah, this guy was everywhere. Yeah. Yep, yep, yep.
Okay, I'm looking into it.
Are you? Okay,
I
cool.
mean, I'm not gonna watch it, but I'm looking in now. You got me interested as far as just knowing a little bit
What's
more.
the name of you said it's on Hulu?
Yeah, confronting a serial killer, and it's in the comments too. Well, I didn't put the Hulu link for it, but it is the IMDb link for it. So, But yeah, I'm looking at it and seeing.
Okay. So I have another book that I want to suggest to you guys. And I heard about the story a while back. Look, um, Lowell's, he's like 300 murders. That's a small apartment complex. Yeah.
And you know what? He just passed away in December,
Yes, he did. He sure
December
did.
30th.
Hmm. And sadly, like a lot of things had not gone to trial yet. And I think a bunch of secrets died with him.
He confessed to murdering 93 people, mostly
Hmm.
women,
Hmm.
and convicted in 2012 for only one, two, three people. So you were right. He was still on trial for others.
Hmm.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that one's pretty wild.
Wow. This is crazy. Have you not done an episode on this guy yet?
I have not yet.
Jeez.
I mean, the thing is there are just so many freaking cases,
I
honestly.
mean, there really are, but I don't even know what to say. I mean,
Yeah,
the number is insane.
that this is like a two-parter. This guy here, that
I mean, it really could be like,
maybe
jeez,
three-parter, but yeah, yeah. There's a
there's just so
lot.
much,
There's a
and it
lot to.
spans so long. Like
Yeah,
it
it
starts
sure
as
does.
early as 1961, 64,
And recent. I mean, well, I say recent,
like
but
this decade.
mhm.
Well, yeah, I mean, anyway, I don't know that this is what you were wanting to talk about, but I'm just,
No,
yeah,
no,
this is
great. I'm glad you
staggering.
brought that to my attention. And how do you know
Wow.
how many series is in that?
Yes, it looked like it said, hold on, 5 episodes.
Okay, so that's like a weekend binge.
Oh, you know what? These just aired in April and May.
Hmm.
So these are just brand new.
Oh wow, is the whole thing out? You think?
It is, yeah, yeah. The last
Because I made that
episode aired
mistake
on
of
May 16th.
trying to binge something, and there's only
Well,
three.
let me,
Things. And no worries, it's fine. I
yeah,
can look at
yeah.
it later.
It
It's fine.
doesn't look like it went further. So
Gotcha. So,
got an 83% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. If that's anything for y'all.
is that good? Because Rotten Tomatoes
Yeah.
never likes anything.
Well, yeah. That's why I say if it means anything to y'all, the higher the
Right.
number, the better on Rotten Tomatoes. But
Yeah.
it's aggregate, so it's anyway. Anyway, yeah.
Which one are you talking about, Carrie? The one that Jamie's suggesting, or the ones that? Well, I'm not actually not. Mine aren't anything to watch. Mine are just listening and reading. So
Uh,
maybe it's yours, Jamie.
Confronting a serial killer, and it's on Hulu. And I put the links in. I put the link for it in the. There's an IMDb link in the comments for you guys.
Thank you for doing that.
Hmm.
And Lowell says Rotten Tomatoes hates Space Jam too.
So you're saying you hate it as well?
Right. Okay,
I haven't seen
so
it.
my final book that I want to share with you guys is a story that I heard about a while back. And the reason I heard about this is because a friend of mine actually met this lady that wrote this book. And this particular gentleman was wrongfully convicted of murder
Hmm.
and he was executed.
Oh
And
gosh.
for a very long time, his wife was very hush hush on the topic. And she wrote a book about it. And sadly, she passed this last year due to COVID.
Mm.
And the name of this book is called Before They Executed Him by Sherry Bowers. And you can find it on Amazon. And I believe it is on Kindle too. So this is another, and this is up in Texas as well. So. And like I said, I have a friend that actually met her that knew her, and so
So I put the link in the comments, but it looks like maybe Facebook doesn't like the link, maybe. So if you guys see it in the Facebook comments, I just put it up. Let me know, but if not, then I can find a different link for y'all. But it is showing
okay.
up in the YouTube link.
And if you guys have any questions on my suggestions, and just let me know. And if you guys want to do a show on it, I would be glad to do it. So earlier this week, I also shared a couple of stories that, of course, just stick out for me. And one was the amazing story of a dad who never gave up hope on finding his son who had been abducted. He was 2 years old when his son was abducted, guys. And he found him after 24 years. And I just kind of skimmed over the story, but this gentleman gave up everything and bought like mopeds to get around, would beg for money to pay for to put gas in his on his moped, but he
This is in
finally
China.
yes, he finally found his son, and it's an amazing story. You got I'm sure there's gonna be more developments. As of right now, the son has not spoken and said what happened to him in that amount of time, but, I mean, there is speculation that he was sold, to a family that couldn't have children, but it was, someone that was desperate for money, so
But there was some
super
crazy stuff in it too. Like they found him in the next province or city over,
mhm, mhm.
something like that. Like I mean, honestly, it was like a 20-mile distance away from where his family was looking for him the whole time. And what else? There was. Oh, I know for me when I was listening to the story or read about it too, and watched the video that you sent me earlier this week, Sandy, I was just like, man, you guys know I'm really interested in a lot of the psychological background and makeup of things and whatnot, right? Like I'm not a big fan on murders, for example, but
Right.
I can't help but be interested in the psychological makeup that a murderer goes through to not define, defy normal tendency for people. Anyway, my point
Right.
is this poor kid, man, 24-year-old man, 26-year-old, man, in one day his world was rocked. Either he realized that the people he called mom and dad and either loved very much weren't really his parents and had bought him, but also found, and it wasn't like the parents that he found were no good, whatever, people who'd been looking for him for 24 years.
I just can't imagine as a parent never giving up the hope because I mean, there have been some that are just like, we're never gonna find. They don't. They never hear. I just can't imagine how much. What's the word I'm looking for? Drive, desire. I mean, he just knew. He held on that he was gonna find it. I mean, and just what an unbelievable story.
But I don't knock or or any no disrespect or anything to those who don't either, because
No, not at
when I
all.
think about it, like the emotional impact and pressure and everything of that type of thing, like at some point you do have to move on, you do have to continue life, and whether you choose to do it to continue finding and looking for the one that you lost, or however way you want to say that. I'm not saying he was a bad parent, I'm just saying like there's something for the human spirit that says you find a way to continue living yourself, and
Mhm.
it's never a good thing to always have that horrible, that feeling, that dread, that to live a life full of just being defined by this despair and this
Yeah.
horribleness. Like uh, I hate to say it, but I'm not saying that they give up, but they got to continue living too. And
Well, because, if you've ever heard any kind of case on a missing person, after 48 hours, that's all they give you. After 48 hours, I mean, it's pretty hard. And I
mhm.
can't imagine after 24 years. But I mean, just a beautiful, amazing story. And I wanted
Yeah,
to give you that smile on your face so that you
I
could.
appreciate that, because the last time you told me about some of your stories, I did not have a smile on my face.
Well, anyway, now I have a sad headline that I shared. So, another headline that caught my attention today is an 80-year-old woman sentenced to 8 to 10 years.
Oh, I
Okay?
heard a little bit about this.
So this lady, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna tell you right now, she snapped. She had had enough. And I don't blame her one bit. I wish she would have snapped sooner, but it happened August 2020. She shot her husband of 50 years twice while he was sleeping. And why? Why are you asking? I know you're all wanting to know why. She claimed that she was abused by him for 50 years, and she had shared instances of abuse with her doctors.
Mm.
One instance of abuse is that he made it a point for her to undress and eat dog food. Okay. Her brother in law, Eugene, brother of Larry the dead man, even came to her defense. And he just said, he is the stuff that you hear about monsters in your room. That's what my brother was. And she lived hell, and he was like, she's not deserving of living now. So even Eugene knew what kind of shitty brother he had.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally don't think she should serve time as she suffered enough, but the courts do not agree. And they do have, I mean, we do have a court system for a reason. Sometimes it's freaking flawed.
You there?
Okay. But,
Oh,
I mean, legitimate answer. Yeah. Did I cut out?
yeah, but it's fine. You're back. You're okay now.
Okay. Okay. So, Dustin says that man has chutzpah.
Not sure what that
This
is.
I don't either, but I think he's talking about the gentleman that found his son. He also says, "Yeah, I can't imagine abusing my wife. This is why we build man caves, basically an office for my games and personal space area, timeout, safe space, basically." I don't
Wait
know
a minute. Wait a minute.
exactly.
Hold on. Go back to that real quick. I just gotta let me just go back to that real quick. This is why we build man. Are you married, Dustin? What does your man cave look like? Because I don't know that I have a man cave so that I don't abuse my
You're
wife.
sitting in your man
I'm
cave.
sitting in my broadcast room. This is not what I dreamed of for having a man cave or anything like that. If I feel that way, I just tell my wife, I don't like you right now. I'm gonna go take a drive. Bye.
I always say that. What is it? I won't beat you, but I sure will shake the shit out of you. Well, this poor
Oh,
lady had more than a beat. I mean, had more than that. It was verbal, it was emotional, it was abuse. She finally snapped. This is what snaps are made of.
yeah. So it reminds me a little bit about the story. I don't remember which person it was, but I feel like where the brother-in-law or the brother was making up. We watched something. Maybe it was Unexplained Mysteries or something like that. Whatever that
Hmm.
show's called. And the brother was like either defending the culprit or I don't know what to call him, or
Uh-huh.
he was not. I don't remember. But anyway, it sounds like that. You're reminding me of that for some reason. Does it ring any bells for you?
Mm-mm.
The guy was a
No.
jerk or something, and then his brother was
So
sticking up for
many.
him. Or yeah, I guess that's true too. Never mind. Anyway,
Look at Julia. Julia says Alex always says he always loves me, but he doesn't always like me. And Julia, I used to tell him the same thing. I don't like you at this minute. I will always love you, but I don't like you right now.
right, right,
That's his
right.
parenting 101. I was using it
Yeah.
as relationship 101. That's so funny. Okay. So do you have a picture pulled up of the young lady that we're going to talk about? I don't know if I gave you enough time because I was going to send
Oh,
it to you and then I didn't, and I didn't know if you could pull that up for me.
I
So
can pull up something. I didn't have it.
most of you sweet people watching my show today know that I went to vacation in Alaska. I
What
promise
was her
you,
name again? Erin what?
Erin Marie Gilbert. And I promise I'm not going to mention this on any show again because I'm sure everybody's sick of hearing that I went to Alaska. If you watch the social and distancing show, we've actually had quite a laugh about that. So anyway,
Erin Reed Gilbert.
Erin Marie.
Oh, Marie. I'm sorry. Okay.
So Carrie wasn't sure where I went. I went to Alaska, Carrie.
Carrie. Stop.
So, um,
Oh, here
with
we
that being said, Alaska is the reason for this episode. So, the last day that I was there, we were downtown souvenir shopping. And if you guys looked at the promo, I should have saved it, but I didn't. If you guys looked at the promo, I shared a red sticker that I saw on a window, and it said, "Please tell us where Erin Marie Gilbert is located. Help us bring her home. Hashtag finding Erin Marie Gilbert." So I'm like, what is going on here? So I took a picture of that sticker, which is the sticker that's in the promo, and I said, "Y'all know that my curiosity was piqued." So we continued with our day, and it isn't until I had looked back at all of the photos that I had taken that day that I'm like, "Oh, shoot, this is what I was going to Google." So anyway, I Googled this story and I have listened to a couple of podcasts. Jamie was kind enough to send me several Reddit posts, and I listened to the newscast, the original newscast of when she went missing. And Seriously, guys, there is no evidence, only one person of interest, and that's it. So we're going to get into this, okay? But let me get to these comments. Carrie said, "What? I can't understand you." One more time, Carrie. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Lols, Alaska. I heard it's really hot over there. You know, I did not experience a heat wave. Uh-oh, Chon said no.
No.
Curiosity is just dandy. Raquel says, "Oh, we're going to Galveston. I want Kevin to take me to the killing fields. If it happens, I'll give you all the scoop." Oh, I'm intrigued. I've never heard of the
Never.
killing fields before.
I feel like there was a movie made on it once, but I don't know anything else about it.
Interesting. So, if you can see, this is Erin Marie Gilbert. Okay. Erin was 24 when she went missing on July 1st, 1995. She had previously been living with her father in San Francisco and moved to Anchorage, Alaska to live with her sister, Stephanie. So Stephanie got Erin a job working as a nanny for a friend, and she also had plans to start cosmetology school. So Erin didn't know many people in Anchorage, and she would often hang out at Chilcoot Charlie's. The bar was also called Coots by the locals, and it was at Coots that Erin met Dave, and they hit it off. They had exchanged phone numbers earlier in June, and when they ran into each other again on June 30th, they made a date to go to the Girdwood Forest Fair the following day. So Erin was excited as she got ready for her first date with Dave Combs on the afternoon of July 1st, 1995. So David had promised to pick her up at 4 p.m. When she went outside to wait, she had company. Her sister, her brother in law, and their children waited outside, and everyone was excited to meet Dave. So Dave arrived on time and was introduced to the whole family. Erin's brother in law asked Dave to take his sunglasses off so he could get a better look at him. And Dave did as he was asked, good, big, protective brother. And so once it appeared that everybody approved of Dave, Erin got into the car. But her 4-year-old nephew, which is super strange and kind of makes you wonder, he's like, "You should take the mobile phone with you." And Erin just laughed and told him she would be fine. They drove off, and this would be the last time that her family would see her. So the drive from Anchorage to Girdwood took about an hour. And so Eric and I were actually in Girdwood. But I did not know about the case at that time when we were in Girdwood. So anyway, it takes about an hour. They reach the fair around 5 p.m. and they walk around looking at various things that are there. And one witness remembers seeing Erin and Dave at the beer garden on the fairgrounds early in the evening. So Dave said they left about 6 p.m. to go back to his car, and he wasn't able to start his car and assumed the battery was dead. So, Alaska had recently made a requirement for drivers on the Seaward Highway to have their headlights on at all times, whether it was daylight or not. So, Dave claims that he was still not used to having his headlights on during the day and he'd forgotten to turn them off when he was parked. Now, let's pause there for a second because most every vehicle that I have ever owned has running daylights, except for this Jetta. And so I would come home and leave the lights onto this dang Jetta, and my car would wake up dead in the morning. So that has happened. True story.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. But this is where this kind of gets interesting too. Dave told Erin that he had a friend who lived nearby, and he said that he would walk to his house and get help while Erin waited in the car. So it doesn't jive with me why he would go to a friend's house when you're with a festival full of people. Surely you can find somebody around the fairgrounds that's near their car that you could have them give you a boost. That's just me thinking instead of
Yeah,
going.
because I'm not thinking like that, Sandy. As a
What are you
guy,
thinking?
what he's doing, he hasn't done anything sus to me right now. Like I would probably go to a friend's house first too before asking some stranger.
You think so?
Yeah,
And
like
and not
I had this
me.
happen 2 weeks ago in my neighborhood. I don't know my neighbors well enough yet to go knocking on their door asking for their help. I called a buddy before I asked my neighbors because
Okay.
we're still new in the neighborhood.
And me, if I'm at a festival, and this actually happened at the fair one time, um, we actually did need a boost, and so I just asked random people for a boost.
You're crazy.
I know, I know I
You're
am.
crazy. What would
Trust
y'all
me,
do in the comments? Tell
I've
us in
done
the
some
comments. Are you
questionable
asking?
things.
I know. Ask. Tell us. Are you comfortable asking the strangers at the fair, or are you more inclined to go ask a friend who lives nearby? Just let us know.
So let me
I'm
catch up on
curious.
some of these comments. Lowell
Okay.
says, if I ever get married, I'll come on the show, J Pun, like a before and after. What I said I'd do before and what happens after. You are booked, Lowell. You are booked. And CPJ says, oh, fun. That bar's name is kind of like Texas Cafe equals a spoon. Yeah. I
I
think
don't
that's
get it.
kind of it's called Texas Cafe, but it's also referred to as the lovingly referred to as the spoon.
That's a tongue twister, wasn't it?
Exactly. Hey, with this rubber band and braces, everything's a tongue twister. So
Oh,
Julia
okay.
Page says, always listen to the little ones. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a 4-year-old to say, take the mobile. I think that's kind of interesting because in 95, you weren't glued to your mobile like we are now.
Right. But here's also what I thought of. I did think about that actively. So here was my thought on that real quick.
Okay.
So empaths. You familiar with the term
Hmm.
empath,
Hmm.
Sandy? Okay. So for those of y'all watching, empath, it's someone who can just read people very well, and not even just read people well. They can take on emotions. They feel the emotions of people around them.
And
Doesn't mean they're
sometimes you
right.
don't know why you feel that way
Right.
around them.
So in my mind, a lot of times I think in this specific example in this scenario, like when we think about babies, kids, and speak what they speak, and this ultra super metaphoric, metaphysical, whatever. I just attribute to these kids will probably grow up to be empaths where they just can pick up people's feelings very quickly and very easily. They can walk to a room, they can meet someone for the first time and be like, "Hey, it'll be all right." And people are like, "What are you talking about?" So, and I feel like I'm one of those people. When I do, I feel the same way. As soon as I hear someone's voice, I'm kind of like, "What's going on, man?" And 9 times out of 10, it's usually an accurate read. I believe that this kid just felt it,
Mhm.
didn't really think of feeling it on the guy or whatever, but just felt it.
Well, and then he's
And
4. He just didn't know, like I said,
right,
what,
right.
what that feeling was for sure.
Yeah. And if adults feel it, I believe a lot of times adults just shut that thing up and been like, I'm just overreacting and don't say anything. I don't do that. I'm always like, you look a little sus. You got something you need to share right now? Just saying. And just leave it at that.
So, Julia Page said, Alex said, wake up dead. And Lowell says, empathy is a blessing and a curse. Yep, I can see that. And I can deal with other people's feelings. Mine, I'm ready to swing.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Dustin.
And so CPJ says, I'm going to walk my little self all the way clear from the fair park to my sticks before I ask a stranger at this sketch fair to help me boost. That's what those Walmart parking lot scary men do when the sun goes down.
Okay, so I'm with you, CPJ. I'm with you. You and I were right there. I feel you. See, Sandy?
I don't have a
Your
what I
radar
don't
is
know what
way off.
my rate.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't.
Oh,
Despite every crime show that I've ever watched, I
oh
don't
my
have
God. You
a
should be the
danger
expert on
filter.
this, but you're like, oh my God. Eric,
I'm like,
please help
do
her.
do do,
Please.
do do. Oh, if I have enough time, I'm gonna share a
He
story
would
with you
be,
guys.
he would be, the guy you ask would be like, every red flag imaginable would be on. And then Sandy would just be like, I'm not saying anything. Do you like true crime too?
Be like, would you boost my car and we're gonna talk about true crime while
Oh
I'm
my
there?
gosh. Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
so let's talk about this. Okay, let's finish. So
Okay.
anyway, according to Dave, he walked around for 2 hours, but wasn't able to find his friend's house. So I'm not sure if your bells are ringing, if your red flags are flying, but if this is your friend that you're sure that lives there and you can't find his house and it's daylight in Alaska, okay. So
Hmm.
Erin is gone by the time he comes back,
With
and
his friend?
he didn't have any friends. He never found his friend. It was just them two by themselves there at that festival.
Sandy, are you waiting around 2 hours for your date while you're stuck in the car?
Listen, fool, we came together. We're going together to find your stupid friend. That we,
1995.
because we can't
1995.
ask. How old was I in 1995?
Uh,
I was 14. I was going through things. I was 13. I was listening to Boys to Men.
okay. Okay.
Oh, what is it? What was
Uh
it's so hard to say goodbye.
huh.
Or what is it? Throw
Oh
your
no, you're thinking
clothes
and
on the floor.
oh I'll
Well,
make love to you.
yeah, yeah, that's what I was listening to in 1995. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Dustin said in '85 he was 15. What?
No, you were not. In 95, you were 15. No, you weren't.
Yeah.
We're not the same age. Did I freeze up or did you freeze up? Can y'all tell me in the comments if I'm frozen or if he's frozen? So I'm going to keep going just in case that I am still going. Yeah, that's okay. So I thought that's what you meant. Lowell, seriously, how old are you? I thought you were younger than us.
It was me
Okay.
frozen. Sorry.
I was like, oh my gosh, did
Just
I?
keep talking.
Did I? That's what I was doing, but I was like, I'm just gonna keep going. Thank you, Julia. And then Sandy is alive. Yes, I'm not unalived yet. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to this story. So when he comes back, look at Lowell's line. He says he's 45 and a half. Quit lying, Lowell's. um, she's gone. Erin is gone, and he assumes that she got annoyed for having to wait so long and left. Unsure what to do, he climbs back into his car, and the car starts. Okay. So y'all know, like I said, I've had instances when my car dies, and never in the history of ever has it just charged up by itself and then turned on. That has never happened to me. I mean, in 95 must have had better technology than in 2015. So, Dave tells police that he searched the fair until about 1 a.m. before deciding that she must have found her way home, and he waited until 7 a.m. to call Erin's house to see if she was still there. So Stephanie knew something. Stephanie's the older sister. She knew something was wrong as soon as the phone rang. Erin had never come home the night before, and that was out of character for her. Erin would always call if she was running late, but she'd never stayed away for an entire night. Stephanie and her family made the 1 hour drive to Girdwood. They looked all over the fairgrounds for Erin. And something very unique about Erin is that she stood almost 6 foot tall. And
Oh
she
wow.
definitely would have stood out. And Stephanie requested that they make an announcement that they were looking for a missing person. And some of the fairgoers did help Stephanie search. And when it became evident that Erin wasn't at the fair, Stephanie called police. She also stopped by the local news station with a picture of Erin to be included on the news. Police conducted a search for Erin at the fairgrounds and the woods surrounding the area. It was, if you looked at any of my pictures, you can just see trees for days. So to say that it was a daunting task is saying,
Putting it mildly.
yeah, because my gosh. But anyway, it's a daunting task, but unfortunately, it's a fairly routine for officers. So Erin's family continued to conduct their own search. Kurt, who is Erin's father, flew to Alaska to help look for her. He was overwhelmed as he realized how big and underdeveloped the state was. He knew Erin could be anywhere. Tracking dogs were brought in, but they were unable to determine where Erin might have gone. Detectives interviewed the family and asked them about and suggested, that maybe she voluntarily disappeared, but Stephanie was more than certain that Erin would never have done that. She said Erin was mature, responsible, she loved her job and was about to start school. The thought of Erin running away was absolutely absurd. So, like I mentioned earlier, Dave was the last person to see Erin alive and was also of great interest to the investigators. So initially, he cooperated and he gave statements to detectives. And each time he insisted that he left her at the car, and when he returned 2 hours later, she was gone. Erin's disappearance was classified as a missing persons case and made it clear that it was not a homicide investigation. They said they had no reason to believe that she wasn't alive, as they had no crime scene or body to indicate otherwise. They also said that if she were dead, it didn't necessarily mean foul play was involved. And apparently, many people have died in Alaska after simply getting lost in the woods. I did read a case on my way to Alaska about a marathon runner who disappeared mid marathon. Nothing has ever been found of that particular gentleman. So, detective expressed their frustration by the lack of evidence in the case. Stephanie, her oldest sister, refused to give up the search for Erin. She made trips to Girdwood often, looking for signs, hanging up posters, but to no avail. In September of 96, Erin's family moved to Washington. Stephanie continued to return to Alaska, searching for any evidence of Erin. In 2017, the family offered a $30,000 reward for information leading to Erin or the person responsible for her disappearance. A few tips came in, but detectives were unable to develop any solid leads. The case has been assigned to the Alaska State Police Unit. There have been no recent developments, but the case is still considered active, and detectives believe that it can still be solved. Dave Combs is not a suspect in Erin's disappearance, but they do have questions they would like to ask him. He did cooperate at first, but he hasn't spoken to anyone in the case, and he will not return phone calls to cold case detectives. So, if you or someone you know has information about this case, you can leave tips on the Finding Erin Marie Gilbert Facebook page, or you can call 907 428 7200. So I went on to Finding Erin Marie Gilbert Facebook page, and this year is 26 years that Erin has been missing. And her sister posted this that just broke my heart. She said, "It has been 26 years. She was 24 when she went missing. She's been missing longer than she was alive. Kind of a tough thought for me. This morning I called Dave's sheet metal business in Anchorage, but the voicemail was full on his business line and I could not leave a message. My snarky self thought not a very good way to run a business. Then I called his cell phone and left a message reminding Dave that it has been 26 years since Erin went missing. And I asked him if he could, and asked if he could bring his attorney and go in to speak to to Detective McFerrin. I also said I think it's been long enough. Then I said bye and hung up." And she also says, if you have information about Erin's disappearance, and she leaves some phone numbers, she says, we will always look for Erin. And y'all, I can't imagine, I shared with you a story about 24 years the dad found his son. And then we have this story that they've gone 26 years without answers. And one of the statistics that I looked at is more than 16,000 people have gone missing in Alaska. And I wish I could end it on a good note and say they've got something, but unfortunately they don't. So, what do you think? Did that just bring you down?
No, it didn't. It wasn't as depressing as the other one. Although sad, don't get me wrong.
As which one?
I think so. For those of you that don't know, that Alaska has like twice the average number of people that go missing than any other state in America. There is such a thing as an Alaskan Triangle,
Mm-hmm.
and it's big for alien enthusiasts and stuff. And
Yes.
when you're talking about woods, I mean, Alaska is extremely underdeveloped. Not because it's
Third world or
whatever.
anything.
Yeah, it's a bit cold, and it's. I mean, Sandy sent some pictures where it was like 11 p.m. at night and it's just full bright sunlight outside. So there's some psychological effects that go on with living in Alaska. You got to be prepared for that kind of stuff, I assume. I would think.
Right. Right.
So with that said, and then the story about the boyfriend, nothing sus in any of it. The only part that's sus, the only part that has any kind of oddness to it is the battery. That's it. But even then, it's only a little bit, not a lot. Everything that you said tonight, Sandy, regarding the boyfriend or the date, whatever you want to call it, I draw zero suspicion from him. What? Nothing.
So, what do you feel about, or how do you feel about the fact that he's not cooperative?
So you remember
If this
early?
was a cold case and you're the last person that saw them, you have nothing to hide. Why don't you cooperate?
So this is going to sound a little bit sick and uncaring or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not trying to be that way, but I'm just offering another perspective here.
Okay.
Your inability to move on does not mean that I couldn't move on.
Mm-hmm.
And you may perceive that ability for me to move on as being cold and unloving and uncaring, etc., etc. But it might just be what I need to get past that and live my life with my family and in my health. I'm not saying it's wrong or right of him. I'm just offering another thought to it, because this
Right.
potentially opens up a whole world of news and books and movies and everything. And his name is always going to be marred as that one that's I think he feels enough. I think there's potential for him to feel enough guilt on that, and he's probably had years of therapy to try to move past it. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm just offering a different perspective to it, and
I'm
that I
curious.
don't see anything suspect of
Okay.
anything you shared with him tonight.
So
What
I'm
were you thinking?
curious if a therapist, say for example, he, like you're saying, he went to therapy, would a therapist suggest like speaking to a detective to help him continue with his healing, or is
Sure,
that not
sure.
anything that's
So, in my opinion, just my opinion, a therapist is going to help a person uh, navigate the waters of their life, of their mental health, to get better for them. Now,
right?
a mental health therapist is not obliged to release any information unless
Right.
they thought that that person was what's the word I'm thinking of? Harmful to
Murder?
themselves.
Oh, gotcha.
Unless the person was harmful to themselves or anyone else, then the therapist will release some information to police or health officials or anything else like that. But outside of those two things, a therapist won't break their confidentiality they have with them, no matter what.
Gotcha. So I'm going to read some of these comments.
Sure.
CPJ said, "Oh, wow." And that's how I felt. I mean, I felt so like I have no closure. And so if I have no closure, those people definitely don't have any closure.
Mm-hmm.
Lowell says, "I'm sad. For sure. It's just crazy to hear truths about the world that don't get reported." Yeah, I mean, because this is an obscure somewhere a million miles away, basically. Might as well be a million miles away because we would never have heard
Yeah.
about it before.
And more to that, more on that point right there, Lols, is again going back to the developed part of the world. This is, even though this is it's a state. If you've ever looked at Alaska, like there's just a lot of wilderness. It's just a
Mhm.
ton of wilderness. And so it's not like what you would think in Louisville or Austin or Lubbock or, Chicago. It's not like that.
And I even made the
Area.
comment several times, you know how many dead bodies are out here? Because that's where my brain goes. I mean,
Well,
there's
and
so
if
many places.
there are, but I also believe that it's easy for anyone of any background to get lost. Meaning, I think you could have murderers who hunt those grounds per se. Poor choice of
Mhm.
words, right? But I think you might have people like that who take advantage of the area and whatnot. I think you might also have people, I'll say like me, some idiot who thinks he can go hiking up in there, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I realize I don't, because it's not a traditional, sun rising in the east west kind of thing.
Yeah,
Sunlight at 11
because it's
p.m.
like
and
dipping, it just dips and then
right,
it
it
comes
does
back
that
up.
wobble
Yeah.
thing. It doesn't go
Hmm.
around; it goes a wobble. So anyway, my point is you have some city person like myself or whatever who thinks they know what they're
Some
doing and
city
going out there.
slicker.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from me forever.
Hmm.
And yeah, anyway, I
So
do feel
I
bad
think
for the family. I do feel terrible for the family. Don't get me wrong. I do. I think it's horrible when anyone's lost or whatever. I don't believe from the information I have right now. I would not be able to suspect the boyfriend.
so. I think you
So
have someone that agrees with you and says Alex says it's paranormal.
well, if missing 411 has taught me anything, then I
Yeah,
mean, geez,
definitely a possibility. And
extreme.
Chorn is kind of with me. The boyfriend did it.
But what evidence do you have, John and Sandy, that fuels your belief that the boyfriend did it?
So what fuels my belief is just his inability to cooperate and the fact that he was gone for 2 hours and comes back and the car is boosted for whatever reason. But I don't know. I think just his lack of being forthcoming. Like, why didn't he call his sister immediately? Call her immediately? Why did he wait till 7 in the morning?
Okay,
That
so
given a
let's talk about that real quick. Let's piece it
okay.
by bit because I think, like, I would have done the same thing he did. Absolutely, I could well. Let me rephrase it this way. I can totally see myself doing that. I'm not going to call their. This is 1995. This ain't 2015, 2020. In 1995, I would not have called the line in the house that would have woken up everybody to ask for her
But he got back 2 hours later, and that's still
at 3. Or you mean earlier? So like he was
no.
there
So
at
when he made it back
11.
to the car
Uh huh.
and he
He
assumed that
went
she
and
was
searched
gone,
around.
he assumed that she was gone. Why didn't he make a call then and there? And because
No, I thought
he
he went
searched
looking at
until
the
1.
right 1 a.m.
Right, he
1
searched
in the
until
morning.
1 a.m., but I would have immediately when I returned back to the car, I would have called and said, "Hey, has Erin made it home? Has Erin called you? My battery died. I'm
Sure. Okay. So you would have, but you're also the one who would have asked any stranger at the park to help you out.
yeah," and I would have said, "Hey, have y'all seen my girlfriend? She's a
But he
tall
did
girl."
do that. He did do that. He did go out and ask.
According to him.
So just based on that, then I'm not saying, and you don't. We don't have to believe it. But by you're saying what you would have done, he did do that. So I'm not saying he isn't a suspect, but if you're going to look at it, start taking down those things that you're going to have against him and be like, okay, well, then what's the next thing? And then is there a logical explanation for that? Then yes or no, then move on to the next thing is what I'm saying. So for me,
Yeah.
logically speaking, not emotionally
I
speaking,
get emotional about this
uh-huh,
shit.
right. And how many times do our emotions and how many times do our kids' emotions get in the way and make them act like fools and make the wrong decisions? So that's what I'm saying. You
Right.
got to I'm not saying don't be emotional, but in analyzing these things, I believe it's a good idea for me to turn off my emotions per
Well,
se and think logically
if
to
I was a
see it.
professional, I'd have a switch. Turn off emotional, turn on bitch. Here we go.
But no. So when the guy gets back, like I can totally relate to that. I'd go looking for her. 2 hours does seem a little excessive though. But I don't know how large the fair or whatever the thing was, the carnival or
So
whatnot.
Girdwood is you drive by it. Like if you blink, you miss it. So you're driving by you're driving on the Seaward Highway and there's Girdwood, okay?
Hmm.
So Girdwood actually extends towards the back. It's not long ways. Does that make sense? It's not like along the highway. It just
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah. It goes
tucks back into the wood. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but it's
So
not like a sprawling city or anything that you have to go miles and miles to search.
right. But if there was a traveling, what was this again? A
It
fair?
was a fair, like a what did they call a music fair or something? It's an annual event.
Okay. Well, I know, like when I go to the Superman celebration in Smallville, down or Metropolis down south.
Mhm.
It's an itty bitty little town. It's like 14,000 people or 14. Anyway, whatever it is. But when Superman Celebration happens over the weekend, it grows to like
Oh,
64,000 people. And so
exponentially.
it's huge, right? So I don't know if it's something similar like that. But my point is saying is I can totally understand him coming back, trying to look for her, not seeing anything. By the time he gets home, it's past 1 in the morning. I'll call and see. Here's the thing too: is he called at 7 a.m. He didn't call like at 7 p.m. It sounds
Right.
like first thing he did when he woke up the next morning was call to the house when he
So the
thought it was acceptable.
population of Girdwood,
Uh huh.
1,742 people.
Okay, so very small, very small. How big does it get when the fair's in town? That's a
I
because
don't
that's a
know.
number too.
But listen to this. There are 1,102 male residents living in Girdwood and 640 female residents.
That's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
It is.
Hmm.
So he gets there, looks for her, goes home, falls asleep, wakes up, calls her first thing in the morning to see where she's at. I still see everything weird again. But okay, going back to the battery too, I could see while she's waiting for 2 hours, someone just comes over. Even best case scenario, a grandpa comes over to say, "Can I help you?" She's like, "Yeah, my boyfriend." And then he's just like, and it's 1995. Let me just jump it for you. And as long when he gets back, at least you'll have the cars ready to go. And so, okay, pop the hood easily, boost that battery, and then be on his way. Best case scenario.
Best case
Worst case,
scenario.
yeah, yeah. Worst case scenario, I honestly, and here's where my mind is going to after hearing this is thinking 2 hours she waited. Maybe that scenario happened. She got it boosted, but that happened maybe early on in the night, like right after he left. And she's waiting 30, 45, an hour, 90 minutes. And it's just like, I'm just done. I'm ready to go home. Let me just go out here. There's 1,000 more people here at the fair. Anybody going to Pflugerville? Can I hop a ride? Thanks. Then
Whoa,
that's where the
whoa,
sus
whoa,
can come in.
whoa. Back the frickin' truck up. You wouldn't ask for a boost, but you would ask for
No, no, no.
a
Not me.
hitchhike.
Not me. I'm
Oh,
saying what I could.
girl.
I'm saying logically in my mind what I see the scenario playing out for her. She's in the
Okay.
car. Her boyfriend's gone. She gets the boost early on. She's waiting longer and longer, and just decides, man, I want to go. So at the beginning, did you say that they knew each other, or was this kind of like a
This was like
Bumble
their
thing? Like we're
second
just
this was like their second. They had already met, had exchanged numbers, and this was like they're gonna be like their first date.
okay. All right. So that's where I was
Hmm.
thinking too.
Hmm.
So first date, I could probably see her saying, yeah, I'm just out of here. I've lost interest in this guy. I can't believe he left me here for 2 hours. Whatever. And then gets hitchhiking way, or even tries to get out and walk through the woods, and he's even like, "Oh, I just got to walk a mile that way, and I'll be on the highway." And then you just get lost in the woods, or predator comes out and gets you,
Yeah, I mean, Predator is always a
or
possibility.
Sasquatch, whatever. The guys, if you haven't
I
watched Missing
never once
411
saw a
or read the
Sasquatch
books,
sign. I did see it at Pikes Peak. It's
I
okay.
got to
Let me
show you the
catch up on some of
Sasquatch
these.
close to me.
Okay. Let me catch up on some of these
Okay, all right.
comments. So Julia Page says this guy was just on a first date that didn't go as he had hoped, and now he is being put in the front of the investigation because he was the last person around her. Not that she shouldn't help the he shouldn't help the police or the family, but I think he was in a situation of a wrong place, wrong time.
I can buy that.
And you'll have someone like Sandy asking for a boost. And Lowell says it's a friggin' Illuminati. And then he
Thus,
said it
Lowe's,
froze. I guess
go watch Missing 411, and then come back and say if you
yes.
think it's the Illuminati still. I'm not saying
It's
you're
like
wrong. Just add that to your arsenal.
and so Chon again, he's like, it's the boyfriend. He ain't gonna tell you why. Chon just knows it's the boyfriend.
Yeah.
And Julia Page said, that's what I was thinking.
Oh wait,
CPJ,
Julia, were you were thinking about the scenario I was painting out? Say yes or
I'm
no in
pretty
your next
sure
comment.
because she's up here saying that he was thrust into, she said, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Hmm.
So CPJ says, I think some thoughts have to be given to the fact that Alaskans are naturally more independent and outdoorsy than what we are here. I'm assuming with all the Alaskan shows that we see, the families hunting, skinning, fishing, major gardening, I would be more concerned about my friend walking across the parking lot of the South Plains Mall than I would be a local Alaskan walking around the outdoors at a fair. Am I crazy in this thought? I don't think that I would call the home line in 95 either.
So I think Carrie makes some good points there. I
Hmm.
think that makes sense. Like, yeah, if you're an Alaskan native, you're kind of not that you would get lost. Like it would be more of the Sandys, the what do you call tourists? Like tourists maybe are the ones who get lost
The little
more in
space
Alaska.
cadets. Lowell
and,
says,
and and
plot
and
twist, it
CPJ,
was a
I'm with
side
you.
dude.
I'm with you. The 95, I would not be calling the main line in the middle of the night.
But if y'all remember, I mean, some of my friends had like their own phone line in their room. So their parents had a phone and then they had a phone
See,
line in
but
their
you're
room.
bringing up some maybes. We're going by what
Girl, you brought
just the
up maybes
front.
too.
No, but my maybes were based on the information that we had, not a. But anyway, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Maybe she did
No,
have it.
I'm not asking you to give anything. I'm just saying like there was a, there was a separation in phone lines back in the day.
Right, right. So that's what I'm saying is that maybe she did actually have her own line, but even him thinking, I don't want to wake her up in the middle of the night. And again, and I would be opposite thinking if he had waited longer than the first thing in the morning. In my book, if he had waited any time past noon, I would be like, yeah, why did you wait so long? That's kind of weird.
I just think he had to get off of his drugs that he was on. Not really. I don't know anything. I'm just speculating at
Wait,
this point.
what?
Lowell says I had my own phone line in my room back in 95. I was in high school. Why not? So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm definitely going to stay on top of it. Like I said, she does have her Facebook page, the Finding Erin Marie Gilbert. And Julia says he really only waited 5 to 6 hours.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't that long at all. It wasn't that long at all. It was a perfectly
So,
good time, you know?
Lols, we need to bring 88 back.
That'll get it.
I had a Delta 88. Ooh, that thing was long. You remember that, Jamie? My Oldsmobile.
Yes. Man, we worked with what
Anyway,
we had back in the day. That's
we
all we can
did.
say right now, okay?
I don't have time to tell y'all my story about the time that I endangered my boys and myself. Anyway, it's a different story for a different day. Y'all remind me to tell y'all that, and I will.
It's not gonna
So,
remember.
I'm not sure what I'm talking about next week because I never know from week to week what I'm gonna be doing. But again, read.
Despite
What?
despite the encouragement that she receives on getting it beforehand.
You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if I'm going to be on next week because I'm actually flying out Friday.
Any of you want a special guest host, Sandy Talk Sheet, without Sandy?
Ah,
Just
yes,
let her know.
talk sheet behind my back while I'm packing. No, and I might if I get packed early, but these are a lot of ifs. Anyway, okay. So I'm gonna get it together. I'm gonna try to have a show. If I don't, we'll do some. We'll figure it out. We'll wing it. Anyway, okay. Oh, Julia says if you need ideas, text me. Guys, I want you to see if maybe y'all can read what I suggested. I'm telling you, those are super great topics, and y'all are gonna hate Pam. Like I wish I could punch Pam in the nuts. I'm not even kidding. Okay. All right. That's enough sheet talking for tonight. Jamie, thank you so much for being on. I'm
No
glad
problem.
we were able to get together.
Yeah.
Everybody, remember, good night and let's keep talking sheet.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.